Now, as so happens in aristocratic circles, is that the aristocracy are at leisure to give their children away to be breastfed out of cities. And this lifestyle of theirs isn't just exclusive to the people of Quraysh at that time, but it's something that had happened and still happens up to very recently. It was still happening all over the world. It was the fashion of the aristocracy to give away their children for weaning. Now, it seems very strange to us that why that would happen. The answer is actually quite simple. This is back in the days when there was no such thing as antibiotics, no medicines, there was no anesthesia, there was no understanding of germ theory or viruses, and cities were polluted, they were densely packed, there was no sewage system, the atmosphere was not clean, there was all sorts of garbage and rotting matter, human feces, animal feces, rotting animal carcasses where people had slaughtered animals. Don't forget, there was no system of municipality where they would take out the rubbish. Maybe in some cities, I don't think, certainly not Mecca, but in advanced cities like in the cities of Damascus or Rome or one of these assassin cities of Susa or whatever city they had, right? You could imagine that they had a municipality where they probably paid people to clean the streets, but that didn't happen, certainly didn't happen in Mecca or small cities that were the size of Mecca. So it was a hotbed of disease. So the aristocracy could afford to pay milkmaids to take their children away out of the cities into the countryside, into the mountains, and breastfeed them in a pure environment that would aid their chances of living. Because up to recently, infant mortality, the rate was very, very, very high. The first 2 years of life, if your child fasts the first 2 years of life, it was considered a miracle, and then up to age 10, that was the second hurdle. And then after 10, obviously they grow into adulthood, their immune systems become stronger, and there's a higher chance of them surviving. But even though the average age of man back then was very low, because people didn't make it into old age because of disease, because of war, because of starvation, it wasn't very easy living back then. So what happened is, every year or every 6 months, you get people coming down, and these people have deals with the people of the cities they work with. There was a tribe called the tribe of Bani Asad. This tribe had a deal with the people of Quraysh that they would come down from the high plateau of the desert where they used to live. They'd come down towards Mecca and they'd pick a child and they'd take that child back for 2 years and suckle that child, and once the delicate age was over, they'd bring that child back. Now, Amina was obviously with child. He had just been born, and there were other babies as well. So we had these women come down to select these babies. And I'm going to give you the words of Halima Sa'diyah herself, who was the wet nurse of Rasulullah and the foster mother of Rasulullah. And let's see what she has to say. She says that it was the year of drought. We wanted to come down towards Mecca and see if we could get a child for ourselves that we could take back. And the understanding was, by taking a child, is that it's not necessarily for payment. Or even if it's for payment, they know the payment's not going to be great. It's actually an exchange of favor. Because in desert, harsh climates, in climates like that, everybody needs to rely on everybody to survive. So if you do somebody a favor, somebody's going to do you a favor. And it strengthens ties. So that particular family, if a family from the Bedouins of the desert, if they come and adopt a child for a few years from one of the powerful elites of Mecca, there's a lifelong bond there. So even when the parents die, there's a bond between your foster brothers and sisters. So at a future date, they can call upon you for help. You can call upon them for help. They will aid you, you will aid them, and it makes you, it increases the quality of your life, and it helps you to live better and easier in the desert. It gives you allies for free. You also get payment, but the real aim wasn't really payment. It was to join these lifelong bonds, because this payment is only going to pass you through 1 season or 2 seasons. But these lifelong bonds aid you 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years down the line, because the Arabs, they knew their genealogy, they knew who their friends were, they knew who their friends' sons and daughters were also. There's another understanding that the children were sent away to give them language. This point, it needs to be reflected upon a bit. If a child from age 0 to age 2 doesn't speak much, and he's in a protected environment in the house, So the only people that speak with him are the closest, the caregivers, and they will speak with him in a pure language. They say that they would send their children away to preserve their language, right? Now, if that was the case, then you could understand if the kids were coming back at age 6, age 7, at age 8, but the kids were coming back at age 2. So when a child goes away for 2 years and spends 2 years in the desert, how much language is he going to learn? How fluent is he going to become in any tongue that when he comes back, you don't want his language to be corrupted? A child between the age of 0 and 2, a child like that will not mix on the streets to pick up slang, will not see strangers, will not meet many people in its life. It will be in a secure home environment, spending most of its time indoors, and the parents speak with it in correct language. And let's say that the child is sent away to make sure his language is extant. So a child goes away for 2 years, learns a minuscule amount of language, and then comes back after 2 years, and now he's exposed to the rough kids on the street, the city dwellers, the people from other areas of the peninsula, even Ajnabi people, foreigners, Iranian people, people from Africa, Abyssinians that would come to do trade. So isn't his language going to get spoiled then? So the understanding, I believe, that the understanding that they were sent away for the purposes of language doesn't really hold true if you look at it in the historical context. What does hold true is that it's to safeguard their life and give them a fighting chance in the first few years of life.